What are people around the world saying about Trump? When talking about influential people in the world, one cannot fail to mention Trump.
A brilliant economist and talented politician. Are you curious what people in different countries are saying about him?
Okay, now let's move on to the people in some countries. The first country, Germany. Not all Germans are the same, but recent international surveys show that a majority of Germans have a rather negative view of Donald Trump.
They are generally concerned about controversial rhetoric, climate policy, trade tariffs, relations with Europe. Still perceive Trump as strong, decisive, prioritizing national interests.
That's how Germany is. But what about China?
China is considered the most strategic competitor to the U.S. today. So it's not surprising that surveys of Chinese citizens show that the majority believe Trump changes his mind quickly. It's hard to trust him long term. On Reddit, a Chinese user said, "No one has any expectations of him," meaning they don't have high expectations for Trump's promises.
Some Chinese people dislike Trump because of his tariffs, technology restrictions, and tough policies toward China. Surveys show that a majority of Chinese people do not consider the U.S. a friend, but many still want the two countries to both compete and cooperate rather than engage in complete confrontation. In short, Chinese people generally don't judge Trump entirely as good or entirely as bad. Many disliked his policies toward China, but find him a very noteworthy, even interesting figure to follow. Some Chinese people view Donald Trump positively on the following point: frankness and straightforwardness. Some believe Trump is not as diplomatic as traditional politicians and often directly expresses his views. Image of a successful businessman. Before becoming president, Trump was known as a businessman and television personality, which some admire, prioritizing national interests. A segment of the Chinese population respects his emphasis on the slogan, "America First," even if they disagree with all of his policies, seemingly more predictable than some other politicians. Some Chinese commentators believe Trump often publicly states his intentions, while other politicians may act more discreetly. However, even those who are sympathetic to Trump often dislike policies that put pressure on China, such as the trade war, technology restrictions, or import tariffs. In short, if the Chinese praise Trump, it's usually for his personality, leadership style, or decisiveness. If they criticize him, it's mainly because of his policies toward China. Next country, Japan. Let's see what people there say about Trump. The Japanese view Donald Trump as quite complex, but generally they tend to be cautious rather than overly enthusiastic. Many Japanese people view Trump as a strong and decisive leader. A Pew Research Center survey found that about 69% of Japanese respondents described Trump as a strong leader. Mambofen Nuyoboshishu onita tish kacha ong datli ichi kwak jiap lansran, voi kau hia America First. Hocharata dola deal ma langdao stenlam chodat. Noishmin. Some people find Trump quite interesting or funny because of his unusual speaking style, unlike traditional politicians. On Japanese forums, there are still communities that enthusiastically support Trump. However, negative aspects also emerged quite significantly. Many Japanese people are concerned that Trump's tariff and trade policies could harm the Japanese economy. A survey showed that about 85% of respondents were worried about the impact of his tariffs. A 2025 survey of Japanese businesses showed that nearly 90% of companies surveyed believed that Trump's policies had a negative or somewhat negative impact on the business environment. Some Japanese people consider Trump unpredictable, causing instability in international relations and making the U.S.-Japan alliance more unpredictable. In short, compared to many European countries, the Japanese generally dislike Trump less. But they don't exactly adore him either. Many respect his decisiveness and influence, but are concerned about his economic policies and the unpredictability of his governance. Now we come to the world's largest resident, Russia. The Russians generally have a more positive view of Donald Trump than people in many European countries, or Japan. But opinions are not entirely uniform. Many Russians view Donald Trump as pragmatic, straightforward, and not overly concerned with diplomatic rhetoric. Some believe that Trump tends to prioritize American interests over interfering in the affairs of other countries. For years, Russian media often portrayed Trump as someone who could improve relations between Russia and the United States. There were also Russians who disliked Trump's controversial and unpredictable style. If ranked by average favorability towards Trump, the general sentiment would be, "I bow my head in gratitude for watching." If you're still watching today, please give me a follow and subscribe to my channel. I love your whole family.